All right. So welcome. Yes, we're doing this Eugene Green's meeting online at the end of the month. It's something we're trying out. Um, and this is the date for that for April. And figuring, I thought since we have the election coming up pretty soon, May 16th, I believe, for the primary, that we talk to some folks that are doing some things relevant to the primary. So, Kai, uh, I know you're running for state legislature, just the usual stuff, like what inspired you to run? Um, what are the issues that you're hoping to have an impact on? Like, what are the things you care most about? Maybe inform us about like your district a little bit too, because even though this is like Eugene chapter, it's like the broader Lane County community, sort of. Um, so I'll just hand it over to you.
Yeah, Eugene and Springfield are separate, but we influence each other so much. We are not two undivided cities, right? So a few years ago, I contacted our current state rep about some of the housing stuff. I was having trouble finding housing. I had an enormous dog. I had like a 140-pound giant Alaskan Malamute mix. And nobody wants to rent to you if you have that, even if you have perfect rental history, decent income. And somebody was like, you should email your state rep. And I was like, yeah, nobody ever answers that. But I did anyway. And his chief of staff actually answered right away because his chief of staff, Andrew, is on it all the time. And Andrew met with me, got me a meeting with John Lively, and it turned into this whole like two-way communication thing. We were working on trying to like lower pet rents and just, kind of reduce some of the barriers to housing that have to do with being a pet owner. And then last year, when the whole flock surveillance debacle started, I reached out again, and he made himself immediately available to me. And we talked, and even though it was kind of a municipal issue, he still helped. There's still influence if you are a state level politician to talk to like the mayor or the city council. So he reached out to them on my behalf, and I was able to get meetings with the mayor, the city council, the police chief. And, that was, again, it was just really shocking to me to realize that this actually is like a two-way communication, because that is not what I thought politics was. And then he told me that he was retiring, and he told me that before he publicly announced it. Maybe he was making a suggestion subtly, I don't know. But I realized that if I wanted to continue doing any of that work, that the right way to do that was to step into his shoes. I live outside the city boundaries, so I cannot do city council, mayor, budget committee, etc. This is like the lowest office that I can run for. The district is District 7, so it's east of I-5, between the McKenzie and the Willamette, and out into the like 97478 area, like past Thurston. It goes way out east. And that's the district. So it's Springfield proper, and then some of the rural Lane County where like your address is Springfield, you're just outside the city. And so I filed, and it has been like trial by fire the whole time, which is how I like it. I really want to work on this universal healthcare thing. We have the Universal Health Plan Governance Board that is going to present a transition plan in September for how the state can move to universal healthcare. And then next year, the legislature will work on it. And I have a little experience in the legislature because I helped write Senate Bill 1516 that was just passed. And I got to see firsthand in the legislature how much pull lobbyists have and how little pull subject matter experts have. And I want to see that changed, because that was extremely frustrating. I was there every day trying to explain some fairly detailed technical stuff to legislators, and they were just not really interested. So the healthcare thing for sure, because I know the insurance lobbies are going to fight that really hard. I'm also a big privacy advocate. Obviously, the flock stuff, any
Flock
kind
thing
of,
for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
any kind of just mass data collection, mass surveillance, AI powered, just this the whole surveillance ecosystem slash surveillance economy, which is just really ridiculous. And we don't have really anybody in the legislature that is knowledgeable enough to start writing legislation to regulate and control that. I'm also super anti data center. We have a data center moratorium petition that we've got going. That's on the website, which is, let's see, it's
You read my mind. I was gonna ask you about data centers because that's
yeah,
like the topic right now. We get asked about that all the time.
they're so ridiculous. They're sucking up all the power. They're concentrating the water pollution, and I don't know about you, but I don't think they're doing anything good for me. um,
Yeah, yeah,
I obviously I feel like a ton of things are in crisis. Healthcare and housing are the really big ones, and the state budget is in shambles because we keep giving tax breaks to giant corporations, and we keep then balancing our budget by cutting services that people use. So it's a completely broken system, but I don't think it's so broken that it's not fixable. We just need some people in there with an actual spine that will tell Walmart, no, I'm going to tax you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We need people that like you can like draw a firm line on certain
Mm-hmm.
things, and then also like you said, like that will listen to the experts. Too often they listen to just like the donor class, and it's not like the policy isn't founded in actual like research and like what we know to be the best for people.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah,
So those are kind of the big things, and I didn't want to ramble too much. I know you said we were going to do about 10 minutes, but I wanted to leave it
yeah.
open for a couple of questions if people have them.
Well, yeah. I mean, a couple things when you were talking came to mind for me. Like the relationship with John Lively is very interesting to me. So like you obviously saw some qualities in him that you want to emulate, and I'm just wondering if you could like expand on like what makes a good like you know
Yeah,
someone who's like a service to the people,
it's the openness and
public
the
servant.
transparency that really, because he's a moderate and he's not afraid to say that. I am not a moderate. So, politically we disagree on some things. I don't know what my cat's problem is here, sorry. So politically we actually aren't aligned on a lot of stuff, but he's always willing to listen to anyone. Anyone is allowed in his office, and he's very transparent. He will tell you how he's going to vote on something. He won't tell you that he'll vote for it and then not vote for it, which is really nice because the honesty thing is, man, in short supply up there. So it just
Yeah, I think people just want someone that they can believe, whether
yeah.
they necessarily agree with them or not. Like, I just want to know where you truly stand on an issue, and not to like have you say one thing and then do another, right? Yeah, I think I can respect someone who like disagrees with me, but at least is honest about it.
Yeah, and he also, he maintains staff that are really responsive, and I like that because some offices are not doing that. So you call them, you email them, you might not get a reply, or you might not get one this month, but
Mm.
he always kept people around that were super on top of it, and I really like that. I'm going to put a link to this data center moratorium petition in the chat here while we're talking.
Perfect. This ties in with Michelle Holman's clean water thing too. It's like they're well, everything is connected, honestly, but those two things maybe more so than others. Connor, do you have a question?
I
I'm
think you
sorry.
have, you have the chat locked down.
I have the chat locked down. Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
Well, that wasn't intentional. Let me see if I can change that.
I think it defaults that way.
Mm. See, we need people better than me to run these things. But anyway, uh, let's see. Settings. No. Wouldn't it just be in the chat itself? I'll figure it out, guys. We'll make sure that people know about this one way or the other, Kai.
Thank
Why
you.
don't you just email it to me after the fact and we'll share it out. I think it's probably the best way anyway. So I don't know, Michelle. Yeah, Michelle and Connor are here. Like I said, I want to keep it punchy. I want to give you the rest of your night back. Want to be able to move on to Michelle. But does anybody have anything for Kai besides me?
Well, we're linked, Kai. I mean, our initiative is pushback against corporate power and privilege. So you said that. We talk about AI and the monster that it is salivating at our county, and we're not down. In fact, the way we see it is that we need our law to make AI data centers less possible. This is just our laws are not robust enough to keep them away, but our law would change that. So I'm just grateful that you've thrown your hat in the ring. We need more people. Oh, I loved it when you said people with a spine. That I say that daily. Like, where is the courage? I mean, we're not saying what we need to say. We have to say it unapologetically. Thank you for doing that. Appreciate you.
Yeah, the establishment is just so entrenched in doing things the way they've always done things, and it is not working, or it's not working for me. I don't know about you.
Not working. Nope.
Yeah,
That's a good clip right there. We could use that one for the campaign because it's not. Yeah, we can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results. We gotta shake it up a little bit. And I'm glad you're doing that. I'm glad you're taking it seriously. And I saw like you were like writing the legislation, and I was at that healthcare for all town hall. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to say hi, but I saw you there sitting
yeah,
there on
yeah.
your laptop working while the town hall was going. So yeah, I appreciate you. I could tell you're out there like walking the walk, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to invite you to talk about what you're doing.
I'm doing it alone. Like I feel pretty good about like a list of accomplishments that I have. We worked really hard to unionize Starbucks, and my store was the first store in Oregon to unionize. And I did not do that alone. I'm not doing this alone. Um, we have like our local Democratic Socialists of America chapter. They came out really hard for us. They were absolutely amazing with the moral support when we were organizing. And they've also been 99% of the volunteers for my campaign. And they are like out there door knocking 6 days a week. they're just killing it. So, there's cool stuff happening. We're not doing any of it alone.
And yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, I stopped by the DSA table today, and they had your stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I said we're going to be talking to her tonight. They said great. So
That's awesome. Love to hear that.
yeah,
Love to hear that.
yeah. All right. Well, I'll give you. I thank you so much for stopping by.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it was a good use of time, and yeah, we'll keep spreading the word for you. And please email me that link. We'll share it out about
Yeah.
the AI deal. And yeah, appreciate you.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll stick around, and I want to listen to what everybody else has to say here.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. So for Michelle, if I may, the push is on, right? Because like the thing you're working on, it's coming up. It's on the ballot May 16th, right?
May
So
19th. May
why
19th.
do I keep saying the 16th?
I'm not
I have
sure. You
like a
just
vertical
Yep.
inversion. Anyway, May 19th. Well, it's because our convention's May 16th. But anyway, that's why.
Okay.
So we're doing nominations roughly around the same time. Anyway, yes, May 19th, ballot measure 2373. There's a bunch of different ballot measures, it looks like. I was on the Lane County website, but this one has to do with protecting our watersheds. And so for those who don't know, maybe just like remind us what that is and what can we do to help you in this final like 2 week or whatever push that we've got here.
Yeah, well, we're writing this initiative. We wrote this initiative because government isn't doing its job to protecting people and the planet. This is what the people do in Oregon when we are at our wits' end. There's nothing left to do. We're not going to ask elected officials to fight the fight for us because they don't. We've tried that. We're not asking corporations to behave and back off with their toxic activities because they won't. So we wrote this because nature requires better protections, and we want to acknowledge those who have been and currently are harmed by toxic chemical exposures in the environment. This has been going on way too long. We're over it. We're earth defenders, water protectors. It's time. It's past time. Water can be contaminated with herbicides and with pesticides and with PFAS and still be considered acceptable under the regulatory standards. And this seems to us to really be authorized crime, to put it bluntly. It doesn't protect public health, and so we feel like we need a new baseline that puts the health of the watersheds and we the people who rely upon them before corporate profits. So what Measure 2373 does is it recognizes the rights of the watersheds to exist, persist, naturally evolve, regenerate. It would give people in the county the right to clean water. Um, and it would do that by curtailing uh, government and corporate activities that harm the watershed. So this is this is not a brand new concept. There are over 680 nature protective laws on the books in over 60 nations, 170 right here in the US. Why not right here in Lake County? That's what we're saying. So the way that this works is that one of the main principles that guides our work is the precautionary principle, which is done in the EU quite a bit. They actually, in the EU, they banned atrazine. We still use it in this country on our forests and in other applications. With so many cancers and neurological diseases, we feel like we should take a more cautious approach. So um, this this law this law could sail into existence, and it would change the status quo by requiring corporations and government to change their activities. They wouldn't be allowed to spray toxic poisons in the forest like they've been doing for years. I live out in the Coast Range, and that's been going on a very long time. And we have cancer clusters out here. We have miscarriages. We have neurological disorders. And as Kai mentioned, this notion of AI centers locating in our county, they're already here, but they're going to grow there. And we've got this governor who is very business friendly, and she wants to give tax breaks to AI centers. Um, the laws that are on the books right now don't protect us. If if our law, if 2373 passes, AI data centers would not be able to set up shop in Lane County. Kai mentioned that things aren't working right. The question isn't whether the current system is working. It clearly isn't. The question is, do we in our county, are we willing to protect the health of our waters and our communities? And does the future matter more than the ability of powerful interests, many of whom don't even live in Lane County, that to engage in these harmful practices? And we say, no, it's time to stop. Water isn't optional. The health of the environment is not optional. I mean, they're really the foundation of our health and our economy and our future. Another really important thing I want to mention is that timber used to be considered king. That was the economic driver. It no longer is. In Lane County, it's recreation. Well, recreation depends on a healthy environment. So, you know, we're we we feel like we have to shift out of this myth that timber is has to be protected at all costs. By the way, you can still log, you just can't spray. We're not anti-logging, we're not anti lumber, we're anti
Mhm.
clear cutting and spraying with poisons. Those things have to stop. That's just an insanity. Um, you know, we I don't know if you know this, but the Koch brothers have thrown down to the
Well,
opposition. Whoa.
you went there. I was going to ask. I said sometimes you can sort of judge the merits of a thing by your enemies. So why don't you tell us who's opposing you?
Yeah,
Besides,
well, I mean,
yeah.
goddess. I mean, it's it's hard. The Chamber of Commerce doesn't like us. You know, Big Timber doesn't like us. The Oregonians for Food and Shelter. I always love that name, but you know, it sounds like so sweet,
Mhm.
which it's not. This is another ALEC formed um, pack. Um, they're not a pack. They are an organization that supports the regressive packs. Um, the list goes on and on. I don't have it in front of me, but it's the
Yeah,
big
the Koch
bucks.
brothers, you said? Yeah, like
Koch
I've
brothers.
that's like a blast from the past. You haven't like heard from them much, but
Oh, they're here. They're
they're
here
still
in
doing
Lake
their thing.
County. Yeah. Can you dig it? Right here in Lake County. So, you know, for us, in some ways, it's a badge of honor to have the Koch brothers be threatened by us. Bring it, you know, like we are not apologizing. We have to be earth defenders. We have to be water protectors. And we have to do this for ourselves, for all life, for future generations, our kids, their kids, on and on. Because, you know, government agencies have permitted these harmful practices to continue instead of stopping them. And that's why, you know, the Citizens Initiative, it really exists for moments like this. Um, not every
Yeah.
state has
So
an initiative.
yeah, yeah. So like, but as we know, like sometimes things that make sense, like let's take the last election, ranked choice voting for me, for one, like seemed
Right.
to me like a no-brainer, but we just can't count on things we think should be no-brainers to always win. So to get this thing over the finish line, I know you were like trying to collect people to maybe do some canvassing. What else? What
Mm.
else can we do this last couple of weeks? Are there any trainings still happening for
There
canvassing?
are. There's actually one this Wednesday at Growers. We just had one today at Theo's. But yeah, Growers this Wednesday. We need more bodies on the ground. I mean, this really, we are so grassroots. And with monies like coming from the Koch brothers, there's that what we have is people. We don't have the big bucks, but we have the numbers. So we need to get more people on the streets. And please, yes, come to our training 6 o'clock at Growers on Wednesday. Another way people can help, I mean, I always like to say, I hope you enjoy a healthy relationship with your devices, but this is 2026 and social media is a necessary component of running a campaign. So if you can get to our Instagram and our Facebook, I can, did you get the chat working? I could put them in there,
I,
but you
you
can
know,
just go to
I was trying to pay attention to you guys, so I kind of
That's cool.
stopped
Just go
trying.
to
To be honest with you.
Protect Lane County Watersheds or yes on 20-373. Follow, like, and share. Please get the word out. We've got to get more people to know about us. We don't have the big bucks to get the billboards. Actually, that's not true. We are going to get a couple billboards, but we don't have the big
Ooh,
bucks. Yeah, to do
where's the cool
TV.
billboards? What are the good billboards to have? Where should we look for them?
I don't know if to send you that info.
Okay.
That's somebody else is
All
taking
right.
care of that. We're gonna have some
Okay.
radio spots and we're doing door hangers, but mostly what we're doing is we're hitting the pavement and just going into neighborhoods and letting people know. We're asking people to check out our FAQ, which refutes a lot of the insane lies that have been fabricated out of I don't even know where. They're making things up like, oh, any neighbor can sue any neighbor for yard work, which it's not in the law. The law is actually going after the most egregious polluters, the big timber, big corporations, our own government. We're curtailing the big naughty people first. We're not, you know, I mean, if it was up to me, yeah, we'd Roundup would be history, but that's not what this ballot measure is about. It's about the big guys and we, you know, we think we deserve, you know, we deserve a healthier world. Water is not optional.
Yeah. Yeah. I think everyone here agrees with that. Does anyone have anything else for Michelle? I know Dylan is joining us because he's also working on a ballot measure initiative to take on some of these powerful interests.
Ooh,
Connor, yeah, please.
Yeah, I was just going to say I'm originally from the coast, not this county, but Coos County, and the youth down there grew up doing a program in cooperation with the local tribes because the stream, the riparian zone, the most basic capillary of the watershed had been destroyed largely due to one, industrial clear cutting, and two, after that was done, that former forest land being turned into kind of low grade cattle land with no riparian buffer around the salmon streams. So that kind of built an awareness in a lot of the people who grew up on the coast there, at least, that the whole salmon economy, which in some years, particularly as the remaining old growth went away and they couldn't keep chopping things down for industrial lumber at the rate they did in the 80s and before, the salmon part of our economy has often been more important in some years than lumber in any case. But I guess that's to say, I'm curious in terms of you've listed off some of those big money or industry folks who are lining up against this effort. I'd be curious if maybe some of the local salmon type businesses or something like that might be willing to go on the record as being in favor of the effort.
yeah. I mean, we have actually got some endorsements from, I'm not sure that we have so many endorsements, which is really very heartening. But some fisher organization has endorsed us. So yeah, I mean, this if it's going to harm the waters, it's going to harm the fisheries. We already know this. So yeah, we do have that kind of support.
Yeah, because I think it makes sense on many levels, right? It's not just like this bleeding heart, tree hugger sort of thing. Like you said, the biggest economy here is a recreation economy. So if we want to be able to attract those kinds of people to our area to enjoy themselves and spend money in our area, then it's in everyone's best interest to protect our water.
Amen.
Should be a bipartisan thing or a
It is a
transpartisan
bipartisan
thing
thing.
or whatever.
This is not a partisan.
We don't think in the binary here. But yeah,
No,
you know
thank
what
you.
I'm saying?
Yeah, no, you're spot on. This is something that actually um, unites across political stripes. If you're not making money off of destroying the ecosystem, then you think this is a good idea. The people that make bank off of destruction, that's who opposes us.
Yeah. All right. Well, I know you're working hard on this and spent a lot of time on it, and you've joined us before, and you've been very kind to give us your time. So thank
Of
you.
course.
Dylan, it's like a good transition because Michelle's done all this work to get a ballot measure on a ballot. It's going to be on the ballot on May 19th. I got the date right this time, I think. And we're encouraging everyone. We were early endorsers of this ballot measure. It seemed like a no-brainer. And what Dylan and the Clean Energy Fund folks are working on also seems a little bit like a no-brainer to us. I saw you guys were out there collecting signatures today, Dylan. I signed your petition. Um, yeah,
Heck
welcome.
yeah.
I want you to tell us a little bit about what your plans are for this.
Cool. Well, thanks for having me, and thanks, Michelle, for all the work on the watershed Bill of Rights effort. That's awesome. Been appreciative of all of your work since 2017, 2018, when I first got involved. So thank you. Yeah, I'm Dylan. I work with the Sierra Club, and I primarily work on building decarbonization across like our priority Western states, so Oregon, Washington, California, and Colorado. But I live here in Eugene, and this I'm helping to lead the Eugene Clean Energy Fund. It's a passion project of mine as well as a Sierra Club priority. Um, so we're working with a kind of steering committee of environmental justice and climate organizations, including the Oregon Just Transition Alliance, Beyond Toxics, Sierra Club, Breach Collective, and a few others. And then we have strong support from a number of labor unions, including the iron workers, and the carpenters, and a number of other, in the Eugene Education Association. And we're running this Eugene Clean Energy Fund, which is aimed at replicating what they did in Portland in 2018 and establishing a 2% gross profits tax on corporations making over $1 billion in the city of Eugene, or $1 billion nationally and $500,000 locally here in the city of Eugene. So that would be basically your Amazons, your Walmarts, your Chase Banks, but it would exclude even the largest local businesses like Jerry's or Nancy's Yogurt or Yogi Tea or anything like that, right? Because they'd have to hit that $1 billion national threshold in order to be taxed. And we expect that this fee would generate for anywhere from $15 to $50 million a year in funds that could be spent on sustainability and climate initiatives in the city of Eugene. It has strong language that ensure that these initiatives would have project labor agreements and create good paying union jobs. And what we hope to see is what was been done in Portland, where their fund, which passed in 2018 with over 65% of the vote, has now distributed over $1 billion to projects including community solar, home energy retrofits, zero emission affordable housing that's nonprofit owned and managed collaboratively with the city. Um, and other really exciting projects. And so we want to kind of replicate that here in Eugene. And the fund would be managed by a committee appointed by the city council that has kind of specific roles. So there'd be an environmental justice representative, a labor representative, a climate representative, a city council representative, an EWEB representative, et cetera, and would functionally kind of like to administer a large portion of the funding in like a grant making kind of cycle. So every year there'd be an opportunity for people to apply with projects that could again range from anything from community solar to watershed protections, like buying up private forest land on the Mackenzie River. That's been something that people are really interested in. I know EWEB's done a little bit of that since the 2020 fires, and we'd like to see more public ownership or nonprofit ownership of that industrial forest land and protect our watersheds, um, things like that. And so then that committee would then consider all of the applications and then approve or deny grants. And then on top of that, the fund allows for a certain portion of the money to go towards existing energy efficiency efforts that are underway at EWEB in the city of Eugene. So there's already great programs for home energy retrofits and energy efficiency updates. And then this fund would basically kind of supercharge those existing programs with millions of additional dollars every year. Um, yeah, so where we are now is we filed the petition in February and started collecting signatures on April 16th. And the first signature we collected set off a 100-day time uh, constraint to collect 8,722 verified signatures. And that lands us right around like July 26th, which I think is that Monday. Um, and so we're intending to collect 15,000 signatures to give ourselves a really, really comfortable cushion for a margin of error and when those are verified. And then that'll put us on the November 3rd ballot. And we're really optimistic because of the kind of political landscape that we're in right now, where Eugene residents are deeply concerned about the Trump administration's attacks on climate and specifically climate funding, the state legislature's cuts to a bunch of climate programs and the funding for those, as well as kind of anti-corporate sentiments that are only growing, anti-Amazon sentiments that are only growing, and then additionally, um, you know, an interest in expanding social services and public benefits for our city, which have been on the chopping block here at the city council level as well. We know that we're going to be facing a big opponent in Nike and big business. You know, the same folks who are coming out against this ballot measure in May are likely going to be coming out against us in November. And they were caught flat-footed in Portland in 2018. They didn't take that initiative seriously. They didn't think it was a big deal, and they lost really badly. And basically, immediately after the Portland initiative passed, they went to the state legislature and passed a law that was attempting to preempt any other city in the state from doing anything like it. And so we found a really kind of wildly simple and clever way to avoid that preemption, which is we're basically taxing gross profits rather than gross receipts. But the point being that, these are powerful interests with deep connections with state and local lawmakers and federal lawmakers, and deep pockets. So we are anticipating a big fight in the fall. And so our first push is going to be collecting these signatures. We're building out our volunteer kind of team to collect signatures. So if you want to get involved, we'd love to have you. And then we're going to be working on fundraising for paid signature gathering in the next couple of weeks to set up like a more kind of robust program. And then when we get through, like kind of simultaneously, we're going to be fundraising. We're trying to have $1 million budget so that we can be kind of countering the corporate talking points with our own messaging and having people knocking doors and really building a campaign for public power, for public benefits, and for corporations paying their fair share. And we have polling that shows that the overwhelming majority of Eugenians support this initiative. They support corporations paying their fair share specifically. That's the number one kind of talking point that pulls the best. So please, if you're running any kind of political campaign, say that every time you get an opportunity to. Yeah, and we love your help. There's going to be plenty of opportunities to get involved. And we have a website, eugenecleanenergyfund.org. If you want to learn more, see who's endorsed. If you want to endorse yourselves, we'd welcome a Green Party endorsement. And we'd also, if you have like prominent individuals who might be interested in endorsing, we're not taking endorsements from candidates who are running for election and not elected yet, just because it can be kind of contentious. But that said, we absolutely see ourselves very aligned with some of the candidates running, including Kai and others. So yeah, appreciate everyone's work and everything you're doing. And that's my spiel.
Oh, I gotta unmute myself if I want people to hear me. All right. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Thanks, Dylan. And I do think we finally got the chat working. So yeah, thank you. Kai has shared the link for the data centers. Michelle, if there's anything you'd like to share in the chat as well, maybe Dylan, if you want to plug that. Uh, Perfect. There it is. EugeneCleanEnergyFund.org. Find out all about that. And yeah, I was just like, yeah, we're rooting for you guys. And so, yeah, if we can, you know, share the word with our membership and maybe encourage folks to, I mean, we're trying like a sort of a systemic level thing. There's issues within the system, obviously. And we want to support all those like folks doing the good work on individual issues like the environment, because that needs to be done. Someone needs to do that work. So I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, and maybe I'll just say too, like on this initiative, I think there's a particular opportunity because we do have labor support and because there's such strong language around project labor agreements, community benefit agreements that like there's I think a real clear message for like a populist left kind of campaign. And so I think it'll be especially important like as the campaign gets going, like we will be the official campaign will probably be maybe a little bit more focused on just like everyday voters, but I think that it'd be really valuable to have some more of our like left flank supporters out there loudly talking about, the kind of appeal of this initiative from like maybe a more leftist analysis.
Yeah, you got to try all the angles. You got to reach everybody where they're at, I guess. It's going to take more than just like the left on some of this stuff, which is why we're trying to like, and a lot of things are very common sense, is what I would always argue. Like to me, the left is honestly more realistic about what needs to be done than the center. The center is considered like this like rational space, but honestly, the rationality lies on the left because we understand the problems as they exist right now and what actually needs to be done. And like Kai mentioned earlier, that we need to actually listen to the experts, the people that know these issues inside and out. And too often, those people do not get listened to. All right. Well, that's it. I'm gonna take this recording, everybody. We're going to put it on our YouTube channel. We'll share that YouTube link out so that everyone, that might see it on Facebook or Instagram or anywhere else. If you guys want to clip it and use it for, your own purposes to promote